Hey guys, I'm Michelle, it's my wheelchair Betty, from Rebelwheels NYC. So I often joke around and say that I don't see doctors because seeing doctors is bad for my health. But in all seriousness, they kinda are. Now I do want to say one thing, does not apply to all doctors. Primary doctor that I currently have is very nice, and I really enjoyed the occupational therapist that I went to at the wheelchair clinic. But otherwise than that, I have not had many positive experiences. Sometimes I go to the doctors and it's like they're in this massive rush. There's usually this hour-plus wait just to see them. Despite having an appointment, they get you in there. After 5 minutes of seeing me, they're just take these pills. And I'm like, whoa, shouldn't we do some tests first to make sure these pills are what should be taking? No, just take them and see me in 2 weeks. Next! I'll tell you a quick story. So I arrived at the appointment in my wheelchair because, like that's how I roll. Literally. But I'm bunching. So again there, the moment he sees me, he's like, oh, and he goes, so why are you here? I'm like, well, I'm here because, I'm getting these chest pains, And he goes, I have to be honest with you, because I'm really more concerned about the fact that you're so young and in a wheelchair. And I'm like, did this person pass medical school? Because it's like, there are so many reasons why a person who is not elderly would be in a wheelchair. Multiple sclerosis, cerebral palsy. He started to ask me questions. I said, do you live with anybody? I said, no, I live on my own. And he goes, so you don't have any friends? I'm like, no, I have friends. Why would you ask? He goes, no, I'm just asking. So at one point I was seeing this one doctor, and he goes, dating can be very healing, and I think you'd feel better if you were dating someone, because apparently I am just suffering from spinsteritis. Another time a neurologist was asking me this questions, and he goes, so are you single? I said yes. He goes, you've never been married? I said no. You've never been married? No. Ever see a psychiatrist? So one point, I go to this eye doctor, okay? And what happens is a lot of their diagnostic tools are on this table. That was not wheelchair friendly, meaning that I was not able to get close enough because the table was too low for my legs to kind of go under. The only reason I was even going to the eye doctor was because I was getting this weird pain in the back of my eye, and that was causing some change in my vision. So like get it checked out, but I couldn't even get a full exam. Meanwhile, the eye doctor, who never even noticed that I didn't even get a full exam, just chalked it up to age. He said, don't worry about it. I'll tell you a short story. So I think it was last spring. All of a sudden I'm going out. I start noticing that I'm getting these, like, after minutes of being outside, this kind of prickly, painful rash on my skin. So I was like, oh, what's going on? So I go on Google, of course. We're like, what does it mean when you get this weird rash after minutes? And, it said you might have a sun allergy. You should go to a dermatologist to get the tests to see if that's what it is. Now, at this point, I'm not a doctor, but I had figured out that it only happens when I go out in the sun or I'm exposed to UV rays. And then when I put on sunscreen, I don't get it. So I go to the dermatologist, and she says, well, based on what you're describing, it sounds like a sun allergy. Before you go outside, wear sunscreen. That was the extent of her advice. Don't we want to do the diagnostic test to make sure that's actually what's happening? It's not something else? And wouldn't it make sense to figure out why all of a sudden my body is radically changed? I'm now allergic to the sun because it's new and I didn't have it before, so nope. Just want to tell me to put on sunscreen. And speaking of sunscreen, she certainly didn't warn me that, oh, by the way, if you're relying on the sun to get your vitamin D, you're not going to get that vitamin D anymore, and you might want to look into getting a vitamin of some sort or a supplement, because otherwise your health is just going to be messed up. Nope, found that out all by myself. Thanks, doctor! But I think my most favorite reason is when they do all kinds of tests, aka the wrong tests, can't find anything, then tell me it's all in your head, meaning it's psychological, it's psychosomatic, meaning there's no physical reasons as to why you're having these symptoms, and in some cases, You're just doing it for attention. Or so says the cocky neurologist. I heard this for 10 years. It really wasn't until they did MRI, because at one point I was in the hospital. I had a really bad stomach virus, and I've had these headaches in the back of my head for the longest time. And I mean, for years and years, but the doctors would always say, like, oh, that's nothing, right? So the hospital goes, well, let's just do a CAT scan of your brain to see what's going on. And lo and behold, they found a brain cyst. And actually what had happened was, before they did a CAT scan, a neurologist had ordered MRI. And the MRI place said that the report came out totally normal. But turns out they totally screwed up. Because when I showed the films to a neurosurgeon, he goes, yeah, the brain cyst is right there. I don't know how they missed that. It's right there. And the neurologist had access to the films, but because he was always in such a rush, he only looked at the reports and didn't bother to look at the actual film. So, yeah. And those are just some of the reasons why I avoid going to doctors, if at all possible. Anyway, put all your comments in the comment section, because that's where they belong. And let me know what you think. Bye, guys.